Now, one of the things that I recently completed, and it's a big milestone for me, is I completed 3 programs in one single month. In this episode, I want to talk about what are some of the things that I learned, but also some of the key takeaways that I've been learning as I'm scaling UndocuStartup. Again, if you're new here, my name is Juan. I'm the founder of UndocuStartup, and I essentially help students go from idea to getting their first dollar in the university level. So that's a little bit about my business.
Welcome to UndocuStartup by Juan Hernandez.
All right, so welcome to today's episode of UndocuStartup Weekly, where I share the biggest lessons that I've been learning building the #1 entrepreneurship program for undocumented students. If you're an Undocu student liaison and you know your students are struggling with what are they going to do after they graduate because they do not have DACA, please visit www.undocustartup.com. Again, that is www.undocustartup.com, so I can help you help your students become entrepreneurs. Now, one of the things that I recently completed, and it's a big milestone for me, is I completed 3 programs in one single month. So in this episode, I want to talk about what are some of the things that I learned, but also some of the key takeaways that I've been learning as I'm scaling UndocuStartup. Again, if you're new here, my name is Juan. I'm the founder of UndocuStartup, and I essentially help students go from idea to getting their first dollar in the university level. So that's a little bit about my business. So lesson number 1 is that I should be planning for things to get complicated, okay? There was a particular day on a Friday where I had a program from 9 a.m. to 11:30, and it was in person. Then I had about an hour to drive back home because I had another program virtually in a new state from 1 to 3:30. Some of the things that got complicated was that I didn't take into consideration the amount of time it took to go from where I was to home. So that's one of the mistakes that I didn't think about. So that got complicated. The second thing is I was really exhausted. After the 2 programs, I really underestimated the amount of effort it took. But that was one of the things. So things are going to get complicated as you grow your company, as you take on more clients, as you build your business. And that was a big lesson for me. The second lesson is that I should be building repeatable systems. So for me, because I run programs, these repeatable systems are like templates. Repeatable systems are like emails, programs, slides, everything, having the instructions for my freelancer, having the instructions for how I'm going to print out the certificates, all these different things that I should be having templates, because I did find myself kind of stressed out during the week. I do have a place where I can keep track of all my tasks. I use Trello for that. But during the week when I was running 3 programs in the same week, I was like, okay, I need to do this for this program, this for this program. And the beauty about it is that 2 of the programs are really similar, very identical. So I didn't have to change much besides the logo and stuff. And that's what I've been learning. The more that I change the programs, the more that I change a few things, the more I'm going to have to change if I do plan on scaling this to the level where it was this month. But yeah, building repeatable systems also applies to like the company, right? Like the boot camp, just having one program. And even with that program, making sure that it's pretty much the same is going to help me scale. Lesson number 3 is to prioritize my health because it's wealth. I've said this in many episodes already. But the first week when this happened, I usually have a routine. I usually go to the gym at least 4 times a week. I usually do cardio X amount of minutes a week. But during the week when I was getting busier, I found myself kind of stepping out of that routine, going to the gym a little later, or even missing a few days of the gym. And that first week when I had all of these programs back to back, I was really tired on a Saturday. Like I literally was just working Monday to Friday. Saturday, I was really tired. And I was glad that I was able to go through that, because then the following week, I went back to my routine. I ended up going back to the gym. I ended up doing my cardio. I ended up eating healthier. But that's always the big lesson. The week when I was really exhausted, I was eating bad. I was eating chips. I was eating all these stuff. I wouldn't say it's because I was stressed. It was more because I had honestly, I was stressed. Who am I kidding? I was stressed. The fact that I had like 2-3 programs to do this week, the fact that I had to do all these other things, running around, all these other things. And I ended up eating bad. And when you eat bad, then on the weekend I felt it. So that was a very, very important lesson, that like I understand that if I want to grow this company, if I want to scale it to the next level that I want, if I want to do 3, 4, 5 programs a month like this cannot be a big deal. I need to be at a different level. Just moving forward is just prioritizing the health, just keeping that routine, no matter how many clients I have. And it's also an important lesson. If you have a business, look at how can I handle another client? How can I handle 5 more clients? And most often than not, you're gonna have to be good yourself before you take on more clients. At least that's what I'm learning. Number 4 is that little problems do not affect me. So, um, I had an incident. I had like this 7 feet banner, retractable banner that you can set up. So you know, my assistant was the one that, we had a little incident there, but I think she was expecting me to get mad or something. I didn't get mad. I was really able to control my stuff. The same when I filed it to the insurance, and the insurance told me that it's too cheap for us to cover it. Then I learned something new. And again, I was not mad about it. I was just like, you know what? The most important thing right now, when that thing happened in terms of equipment, was I just want to make sure the program still goes on. A banner is just mostly for marketing. A banner is there. I can buy another one, right? The same thing with insurance. Now that I had a call with them, now I understand what I can use it for, what I can't use it for. And I just realized that like these little problems, there's level of problems that no longer affect me, right? So like if it's an equipment, maybe a year ago, I'd be bummed out about it. I'll be like, oh, like what happened and messed it up. But the most important thing in that day, I was just like, I just want to make sure I do this program and I do the next program, because those are the most important things that I have to get done. And the equipment is replaceable. It's just something materialistic. So what I found myself learning, and even with like payments, sometimes it does become frustrating when you are completing something and then it takes a while to receive your payment. So I'll give you an example, right? Like I get paid through check, and sometimes the check, when I check it through my bank account, it takes about a week for me to see it in the bank account. And then from that week, it takes about 2, 3 days for me to transfer it to my personal amount of money. So in total, it takes like 10 days for me to see that money. And sometimes I could be frustrated. Sometimes I could be getting discouraged. At the beginning, I was, but now little things like that, little things like equipment, they no longer affect me. So that's another thing that I learned, that like there's levels of problems, and the bigger the problem, the smaller the problem, I don't think it's a big deal. Lesson number 5 is that everybody responds to incentives. This one goes hand in hand in terms of um the programs that I run. Like sometimes I've been experimenting. This is a common question that I get within the programs, is like, how do you get students to stay in the program? How do you get students to attend? What is the stuff that works? And what I've been learning is that everybody responds differently. Based on the application, students join entrepreneurship because some of them have no options, while others, they may have a really good life and they just want to make some extra money. So understanding people's motivations to join the program, understanding my clients' motivations to bring this program, helps me moving forward. And I really, really do believe, as I continue doing these programs, is I really, really do believe, and I mentioned that in the past, I believe that there's an archetype to the UndocuStartup founder. I think there's an archetype. I think it's a specific type of person. It's somebody that knows entrepreneurship is a legal path. It's somebody that doesn't make excuses. Somebody that is a go-getter. Those are the characteristics. And even though right now we're at a point where we need as much exposure and brand awareness out there so people understand what we're building for, I think in the future we're really going to be focusing more on that archetype of like the students that genuinely need this. That is not so much on like, oh, it's a passion project. What I've seen is like some students really join because this is their only option. And surprisingly, when things are your only option, you tend to figure out ways on how to get there, and that's the other thing, that's the other thing. Like, that's another lesson. Lesson number 6 is how did I get here? How did I receive these three programs in 1 month? Well, it's been a year process. It's been a 12-month process. When you're building your business, and as I am learning, it's like a lot of the times when I'm sending emails, when I'm calling people, when I'm reaching out, when I'm asking for referrals, a lot of that momentum, I don't get to see if it's ever going to come to fruition, right? But when I look at the 3 programs, one came because I started a conversation November last year. The other one came because it was my first yearly partnership. And the other one came because I started cold calling and then I landed that contract. So at the end of the day, the most important thing here is like, and I remember it again with one founder that I met like about a year, 2 years ago, that he was also selling to universities, selling programs, not like mine, but like he was selling programs. And he told me, you should be always building your pipeline for next year. The thing about entrepreneurship that I'm learning there as I'm going into my third year, this is my third year, 25% of the third year is already happening, is that I should always be building the pipeline, not just for this year, but also for next year and the following year and the following year, because that's what entrepreneurship is. And the moment you stop, you are gonna lose money and stuff like that, and that is scary in itself. So I got to this point, like I mentioned, one returning client, two new clients, one yearly client, and that is beautiful, so essentially the biggest takeaway here is like, if I want to be at this level, I know that it took 12 months of work. And now how do I turn those 12 months of work into 1 month or in 2 months? How can I do what I did last year to get to this point, to now have this happen every single month or do more? Because the goal has always been make this accessible to every single state possible, every university, every community college, because it's a huge problem in our community right now. So that is lesson number 6. Plan a year ahead with your business, with your clients. Try to get them back if they're not interested now. Can you get them in the future? Lesson number 7 is to choose the payment structures wisely. This is one of the newest learnings that I had. Like I mentioned to you all earlier, sometimes I get paid through check. And this time, and I've actually gotten paid through bank transfer in the past. I've never gotten paid in cash because I work directly with institutions, right? But I learned that bank transfer happens much faster than check. So that just taught me, like, okay, if a check, it takes me 10 days to look at the money or like for the payment and stuff, can I just focus on getting bank transfers in the future so I accelerate stuff, right? Because remember, we need money for the contractor, we need for our freelancer, we need money for speakers that sometimes come in, and that was a new lesson. So I guess the lesson here is like experiment with different ways of payments. That's why now when I look at other companies, some companies finance different things. They put stuff on credit cards, or you look at different business models. They have recurring revenue. So I'm just starting to think about like, what are some ways that I can get paid faster, even if, or at least to see the money. So like that, I don't run into that cash flow issue like I did last year, Lesson number 8 is that I can do this and more. I realized that I was much more capable than I initially thought. Again, I continue to go against my current beliefs. I mean, some of you are new listeners, but the first bootcamp that I ever did, I was nervous. I was scared of like being able to just do one at the price point that I was asking for, because when you ask for a price, when you ask for a specific amount of money when doing an exchange of a service, you have to be at that level. And when I first did it, I was not like 100% confident. Obviously, I practiced 70 hours and it went all right. And eventually that's what became the snowball effect with other clients, with other institutions, right? But I was questioning it. If I was able to do 2-3 programs, I would have anxiety. I'd be like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. How am I going to perform when it's in person, when it's online? My laptop is giving me problems. And, you go into this rabbit hole, but I was successfully able to complete all of these programs now. Now they're at the end of it. Now I'm just in the reporting stages, and we had a lot of great wins, and I'm always happy that the clients are happy, that some want to bring me back. Some they were just interested in a one-time thing. They wanted to pilot it. But at the end of the day, like, I realized that if I want to get to the next level, three programs a month should not be a big deal. It should just be like a normal thing that I do. And once I get used to this momentum and we do it most every month or every 2 months, I mean, I think I'm going to be more prepared. I understand a lot more things now. Like, I understand that if I do I understand, like, if I do a program fully in person, it takes different skill set. If I do a program fully virtual, it takes a different skill set, it takes different equipment. So now I understand that it's much easier to scale something if I'm able to see these different case scenarios, because they each come with new challenges. Now, lesson number 8 is that I underestimated the amount of effort I needed for this, right? I mentioned it kind of similar as I was speaking at the very beginning. At the very beginning, I was like, well, I'm going to do it, and I'm still going to be able to go out. I would go out, I'd go hiking, I'd go to the gym, I do these things, right? And in fact, a day before one of my programs, I went hiking because I just wanted to go hiking. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go hiking. I'm gonna go check out this new place. Even though I knew I had to wake up early, to drive to this place. I knew it was like a good 40-minute drive, but I ended up going, and then I regretted it because I was tired. The following day in the morning, my legs were tired, and I was like, oh, what did I do? So I definitely just have to remind myself that it takes a lot more than I initially think is, and as I'm learning with my business, it's not gonna come easy. I'm gonna need to continue pushing. Sometimes it's difficult to continue pushing, right? Because like I mentioned, right, you're pushing against friction. There's friction, right? And then you look at other people kind of ahead in terms of their business and stuff, and you're like, you kind of get discouraged. The most discouraging thing I'll say as a founder that I find sometimes is like you do a lot of actions and you don't reap the fruits of your labor, right? Like you never know if something is working up until later. And if I can just get used to that feeling enough, if I can just stick through it long enough to see if it's gonna work out, I think it will. But sometimes it is difficult, y'all. It is difficult, and like I mentioned, I don't want to underestimate the amount of effort it takes. But I do have more data. Every single program is new data. Every new client is new data. Every new form of payment is new data. That is gonna help me build this company where I want it to be when I want to build the ecosystem for undocumented entrepreneurs. So definitely I got humbled. I got humbled in terms of the amount of effort I needed for these three programs, but I'm glad that we were able to complete it. And then the last one is that I am much closer to my goal than I initially thought. But the most important thing is to just keep going, right? Like I mentioned, I got to continue calling. I got to continue emailing. I got to continue posting content. I have some data already on like how much it took to get to the whole last year. Can I do that whole last year in 1 month? In the next 2-3 months? And I think if I am able to stick through that, people are gonna associate undocumented entrepreneurship with UndocuStartup. But once we get to that level, once we get more success stories, we're gonna be in a better position to build the company that we want. One student, one client, one institution, one partnership at a time, and that's the only way that I can see it. But I'm definitely closer to the initial goal that I initially set out for myself. Of the number of programs that I want to do. Obviously, I'm not gonna share, but 3 is a good step towards that, and then I start to believe it. Then I'm like, okay, this is possible. Because sometimes it's hard to believe in it, but you have to find some evidence. And this month was a great month. 3 programs. I'm really happy. 3 clients. A lot of great success stories. I'm happy with how everything is improving, and now we're looking at how can we make it better, right? Like, what do athletes do every time after a game? They look at their stats, they look at the stuff, they look at the replay and stuff. And I was telling my media person, like, record it. I want to look at it. I want to study it. I want to make it better. And that's the way that we're going to build this. So again, let's just do a quick recap. Lesson number 1, plan for things to get complicated. Lesson number 2, build repeatable systems. Number 3, prioritize your health. Number 4, little problems don't affect me. Number 5, everyone responds to incentives. Number 6, plan a year ahead. Number 7, choose payment structures wisely. Number 8, I can do this and more. Number 9, I underestimated the effort needed for this. And number 10, I am much closer to my goal than I initially thought. So with that, everybody, make sure you give this a rating on Spotify. Please follow the podcast, follow and subscribe on YouTube if you're watching it on YouTube. And remember, be motivated and stay motivated. And remember that UndocuStartup means that entrepreneurship... And remember, UndocuStartup means that undocumented entrepreneurship has no limits. I'll talk to you soon.
Welcome to UndocuStartup by Juan Hernandez.